Have you ever had a dream so big, so monumental that it actually scares you and you find yourself shrinking away from it, even though you want it so badly? You find yourself self-sabotaging, pushing that dream away because it felt safer. Or maybe you're like me and you've given up on that dream entirely to protect yourself from the pain of failing. This is a story of where failing your way forward can take you. When I started my DIY journey, I thought I was chasing my creative dreams. I was working hard to make my Pinterest dreams come true, but in reality, I was shrinking away from my big dream, acting. I had been acting from the time I was 8 years old, but by this point, I was burnt out, and even though I had a lot of wins, there was still even more rejection, and it felt like my best would never be good enough. And at 31, I did not think I could afford to fail again. So I quit and immediately put all my energy into transforming my bland white walls into the most cozy, colorful, and joyful home I could imagine. But it was like I was trying to replace one dying dream by immediately replacing it with a new dream. I thought giving up on my big dream would keep me safe from failure. But boy, did God have other plans. It all started because I wanted a sofa I couldn't afford, so the most natural thing to do was build it myself.
What, like it's hard?
It was, in fact, very hard. And while I was delusional enough to think I could do it all by hand, the hammer and nails humbled me immediately. I finally came to my senses, faced my fears of using power tools, some of which I had no business using in the first place, like our first attempt of using the table saw that had the wood flying across the room, a little something like this. No. Every step of the way, there was more and more evidence that confirmed I should just give up. It's too hard. I don't have the skills. I'll never finish. But for some reason, I didn't let those discouraging thoughts win, and I kept going. As I've been reflecting and working on this video, which feels like forever now, I realized I was putting all this pressure on my new DIY path because I needed to make up for failing to make it as an actress. Now, I know that wasn't a healthy mindset, and it was only a matter of time before it caught up with me. Now, if building a sofa with no skills wasn't enough, I was also on a mission to cover every ugly orange peel wall at the same time, in the most difficult ways possible. Like hand painting my closet because I didn't know how to use a roller and I didn't take the time to stop and learn. Then on top of that, I didn't have the proper safety gear and I wasn't ventilating and messed around and got sick and had to exit the building. And you already know I came back with the right gear, acting all the way up. Now these next two DIYs I am still so proud of. I figured out a way to make concrete and brick walls removable and renter friendly. It was giving innovation, okay? The concrete wall really reinvigorated my creative spirit and I just felt so free working on it. It was kind of like being a kid again. All of my art classes that I did growing up and getting back to those creative roots. It was just really fun to explore and play even when things weren't turning out exactly how I envisioned them. I just kept going and trying different things. I really learned how to lean into my mistakes and kind of let them be happy little accidents. This project brought me so much joy just to see what I'm able to create without needing to be approved by anyone else. I didn't know it yet, but I planted a seed with this project that would bloom something beautiful in the future. The bright side of starting something new is you're too excited and delusional to know any better. Sometimes you learn things the hard way, but other times it frees you up to explore and experiment. And because it's so new, perfectionism is a bit quieter. It allows us to go back to a time where our inner artist still felt safe to make mistakes, to learn, and to play. That feeling didn't last forever because the sheer scale of this brick wall, all of the windows I had to work around, a lot of fails that happened because I didn't quite have the technique figured out at first. I had a lot of ups and downs on this one. When you're in a low place and you're beating yourself up because you feel like you should be further along than you are, it can be easy to fixate on hopelessness and even easier to lose sight of all the times you kept going in spite of that. We are all fighting silent battles, so however you've managed to keep going is worth celebrating. It's so important to look back and remind yourself of everything you're capable of. Not just your results, but your resilience. Now, I wasn't quite ready to apply this mindset to my acting dreams, but the resilience I built in this part of my journey laid the foundation for what's to come. Now, even after all this work on projects that were way outside of my skill set, even after all this transformation, perfectionism still said it wasn't enough. And if you've been there too, you know what's coming next. Now, for a moment, I really stepped into my creative problem-solving bag. I found a simple yet impactful DIY that only took 2 days. Failure, I don't know her. Actually, I know her very well. I was able to fix all my mistakes with this wavy trim that made the wood wall even more iconic. Now, if you're new here, you might think, oh, okay, she's got it. Simple yet impactful DIYs from here on out. But you thought. The wood wall wasn't enough. I just had to have a coordinating bench to hide my projector screen, and I had to build it in winter while I was planning my wedding. I realized I started this project thinking I was gonna build it out of cardboard. This went on for days. I don't really have any answers, but I was trying to be an upcycle queen and it just didn't go anywhere. And if you didn't already think I was insane, I was also trying to build this backdrop for my wedding reception. Like, huh? I was trying to do it all, child. The level of determination I had through this period of my life needs to be studied. And I would like them to report back so I could tap back into it, because your girl was locked in. The combination of my determination to succeed mixed with my compensating for past failure, adding in a dash of hustling for my worthiness, is what pushed me to get this done. But it came at a cost. My body had had enough, and I found myself in the hospital the week of my wedding. Okay, I am being dramatic. It wasn't that bad, but it was bad enough to get my attention. So here I was at a turning point, miles away from my original dream in life, still failing, still feeling like my hard work will never be enough. Maybe the dream wasn't the problem, but the dreamer. This time, something had to change. I couldn't keep learning the same lesson the hard way. So, this time, instead of doubling down and repeating the same cycles, I finally listened to what God was telling me to do. I slowed down, prioritized my mental and spiritual health. I prayed fervently. I wrote more. I walked non-stop. And I let go of my plan and surrendered to the plan God had for my life. And from there, Dear Stock Creative was born. The series allowed me to tap into multiple mediums: DIY set design, writing, visual storytelling, and a bit of acting. My multi-passionate heart was so full, and it allowed my creative mind to blossom. I was able to see a world where there was space for all my creative dreams, even acting. My DIY fails taught me what's possible when you don't give up. The perseverance these projects built gave me the courage to start dreaming again, despite my fears. My DIYs taught me how to begin again when something didn't work out the first time, the second, the third, or as many times as it takes. They taught me how to overcome the things that scare me, how to make things happen when things don't go according to plan. And they also taught me that sometimes you work so hard on something and the results just won't live up to your expectations. And while I didn't finish everything on my Pinterest boards, I still finished strong and never gave up. And even though the fails kept coming, my joy was back, my purpose was clear, and I had a peace that surpassed all understanding. So if you've also found yourself on a detour from your big dream, don't be too hard on yourself, because beautiful things are still being built and God is working everything together for your good and His glory. Even the seasons we found ourselves shrinking away from our creative calling. Sometimes it's hard to keep going because the gap between where we are and where we want to be seems so huge, maybe even impossible to close. But the cost of procrastination is the life that we could have lived. It's scary and uncomfortable, and it makes us want to retreat back to our comfort zones. But if I've learned anything over the past 3 years, it's that the discomfort of shrinking away from my dreams is way worse than the discomfort of facing my fears. If you've been on this journey with me for a while now, you know I love sharing my funny fails and laughing about them. But my whole DIY journey started because I was running from the failure I experienced in my acting career, and I allowed myself to shrink away from that dream for a long time, not even acknowledging that it was a dream anymore. So if I'm really honest, I can preach about failing forward and never give up, but I need to be listening to that myself. This past year, God has helped me see clearly how I can use all my creative gifts to honor Him in this life. acting being one of them. And so as I sit here laughing at all my fails and all I've managed to accomplish because I didn't give up, I think I need to start applying that to where God is calling me to create next. And if you've made it to this point in the video, I hope it encourages you to take a big scary leap in the direction God is calling you. If I've learned anything from this journey, it's that beautiful things can happen when you don't give up. In this past chapter, I've learned what it takes to be brave enough to be bad at something new. As I move into this next chapter, it's time to be brave enough to begin again.